You could hit the McDonald's drive-thru and spend over $7 on a Big Mac with barely 20 grams of protein and almost 600 calories. Or you could make these Big Mac roll-ups at home with more protein, fewer calories, and way better flavor for the whole family. Hey Fit Foodies, I'm Kristen Blumetti, macro-friendly recipe chef and one half of the Fit Foodie Chicks. Welcome to Fit Foodie Kitchen, your go-to spot for low-cal, high-protein recipes that make meal prep simple, fun, and actually delicious. No bland diet food, no fancy gadgets, and zero cooking skills required. My business partner, Jackie, the other half of the Fit Foodie Chicks, and the yin to my yang, who hates to cook, can make these recipes. So trust me, you can too. All of our recipes are picky kid and husband approved. If you're cooking for a crowd or perfect for weekly meal prep, you'll actually look forward to eating these recipes on repeat. And yes, everything is pre-logged in MyFitnessPal for easy tracking. Now let's cook. All right, the first thing you need to do is preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you want to line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Now we're gonna brown 1 pound of 96% lean ground beef with a half a cup of diced onion. Now, I cheat and get frozen diced onion, but if you want to chop up an onion, be my guest. To your ground beef, you also want to add a half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper. I got these little containers from Haiti, where I've gone 6 times to serve an orphanage there. It's been a long time since I've been there though. Okay, you're also gonna add 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard. Now, if you don't wanna dirty every single measuring spoon in your kitchen, just put your skillet on a food scale and weigh out the ingredients. Less dishes to do and way more accurate. Okay, then we're gonna brown this up. If you don't have one of these, you're missing out. And you'll never want to use a spoon to break up your meat as it browns again. Once the meat is browned, you're gonna add your half a cup of reduced fat shredded cheddar cheese and stir that in. Yes, I buy pre-shredded cheese. I will take every shortcut in the book. The only shortcut I don't take is buying pre-minced garlic or pre-peeled garlic. My Italian grandmother and my father would probably roll over in their graves if I ever used pre-cut or pre-peeled garlic, but I'll take every other shortcut I can get. Okay, once that's all incorporated, just set that aside and get your puff pastry dough ready. So on your prepared baking sheet, you're going to take a puff pastry sheet and unroll it and lay it out in the center of your baking sheet. If your puff pastry comes with this parchment paper attached, you can discard that. Now, I like to just very gently stretch out the pastry dough so that it's even and there's no like spots that are thicker and you just get more surface area. So just really gently, you don't want to tear it and you don't need it to be perfect, especially for this recipe. You really can't screw this one up. Jackie, I'm talking to you. Okay, once you have the puff pastry spread out, you're gonna take the beef mixture and you're just gonna spread it all over the top of the pastry as evenly as you can. Just get it all on there and then we'll spread it around. You wanna get it all the way to the edges, as close to the edges as possible. You're gonna roll this up tightly like a cinnamon roll, like a cheesy beef cinnamon roll. Now this is the tricky part. Now you're going to roll the dough like a cinnamon roll. So you wanna start on the long end. So have the long end here. You can go from the top or the bottom, but you wanna start on the long end and you're gonna start rolling the pastry over the meat mixture and just keep going until you have a big, long snake. You want to work kind of quick because the warm meat mixture might make the dough a little bit hard to work with. So you want to kind of get going. You can use the parchment paper to help you roll it. Almost there. Let's get this last side up and over. All right, now the tricky part, releasing the paper. And now we're gonna cut this into 6 equal pinwheels, as close to equal as possible. You wanna use a sharp knife. I'm gonna start right in the center to get my first cut. That gives me 2, and now we need to get 3 out of these, so we're gonna cut these into thirds. Not gonna lie, ideally you should probably do this part on a cutting board and not on your cooking sheet, but just be careful. You do not want to scratch your nonstick cookie sheet with your sharp knife. So if you're worried about doing that, do this part on a cutting board and then transfer it to the cookie sheet. Okay, now we have 6 cut pieces, and we're going to place them cut side down and then just give them a little gentle press so that you end up with 6 little pinwheel shaped Big Mac roll-ups. Remember, you really can't screw this up. It doesn't have to be pretty at this point. It just has to stick together. So if some of the beef falls out, just stick it back in. So now you have 6 Big Mac roll-ups. One more step before they go into the oven. You're gonna crack 1 egg and whisk it up. Get that nice and whisked up. And then you're just gonna brush the edges of the pastry with this egg wash. So a little pastry brush and just brush around the edges. Anywhere you see dough, you want to cover that with a light layer of your egg wash. And this is just gonna help it brown and get nice and crispy and delicious. Plus a little extra protein. We'll take all we can get. All of our recipes have the macros calculated for you, and they are pre-logged in MyFitnessPal. So if you make any of our recipes and you are tracking your macros, all you have to do is search in MyFitnessPal FFC and then the name of the recipe. So this will be FFC Big Mac roll-ups. And then you just log how many you ate, and it's that easy to track your macros. I know a lot of people we talk to that have tried macro tracking before, they give up because it's too much work to enter all the ingredients, every single thing you eat, and figure out the serving sizes and all of that. Well, we take all of that guesswork out for you. I do all that math ahead of time. I pre-log everything into MyFitnessPal, so you just have to make a couple clicks and you're done. Brush a little bit on the tops because we're also going to sprinkle some sesame seeds, because it's not a Big Mac without sesame seeds, on top. So you want them to stick to the egg wash. Okay. I think that pretty much covers it. All right, we're gonna sprinkle sesame seeds over the top and then throw them in the oven. And these are gonna bake at 400 degrees for 18 to 20 minutes. Now while those bake, we're gonna make the special sauce. A half a cup of plain non-fat Greek yogurt. Wow, I got it exactly right on the first scoop. Again, if you don't want to dirty all your measuring cups and spoons, place your container on your food scale, tare the food scale, and then scoop out the amount that you need for the recipe. 2 tablespoons of tomato ketchup, 2 teaspoons of yellow mustard, 2 tablespoons of dill pickle relish. And if you don't have relish, you could just finely dice some pickles. And a half a teaspoon of onion powder. Just stir until everything's incorporated and you've got a classic special sauce. Do you want this recipe and over 250 more just like it? Grab them all in our app with a monthly meal plan recipe subscription at fitfoodiechicks.com under food. Now, let's eat.